Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ronald James. I'm one of the tenant leaders on the apartments on Shaker Boulevard, 12701, 12600, and 12500. I want to thank everybody for coming in this cold weather. We have Councilman Griffin here, who's president of City Council, our councilman in Ward 6. Hopefully, Councilwoman Gray will come as well. But we're here because of the concerns of the residents on the conditions of the building at 12700, 12600, and 12500. We appreciate the council people. We appreciate the building department of the city of Cleveland and Cleveland Housing Court and the Morelands Group for showing their supports in our efforts to get our building safe and livable. We support their efforts in this struggle that we have, and hopefully they will support our efforts to get a receiver appointed for these buildings to straighten it out, and also to pass legislation to prevent these out-of-state LLCs from owning property in Cleveland and draining the money from our community. Without further ado, I would like to introduce City Council President Blaine Griffin. But before I do that, I want to thank the Morelands Group, Jay Westbrook, Meg Weingart, Mr. LaSure, my fellow tenant leaders, Tony Dial and Regina Burton, who's not here. Stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. First of all, I do want to make sure that I also acknowledge Tony Dowell and also all of the other residents that are here today. And I do want to make sure that they have a statement of demands and a statement of action steps that they are taking in order to address this. And I also want to thank you, Mr. James, and all of the Morelands Group for really showing your leadership on this. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the most deplorable situations that I've ever witnessed in the city of Cleveland. We have apartment buildings like this all throughout the city. But what this group is doing is especially unconscionable. When I have to get calls in 0-degree weather on Christmas morning from residents because there is no heat in the building, because there is no hot water, because the electricity is deplorable, then there is a problem, and we are hearing our residents, and we listen to our residents, and we're going to fight for you. I do want to commend Housing Court Judge Monet Scott, who has done everything within her power and her tools in order to hold this group accountable. This is approximately the fourth group that has actually owned this apartment building in the last 3 years. There's been approximately 3 management companies. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, none of them have taken care of the people of this apartment building the way that they should. I'm outraged, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, and I believe that the city of Cleveland needs to do everything in our toolbox in order to try to make sure that we hold these landlords accountable and that we make an example of this group, that we will not tolerate this in the city of Cleveland. We have already worked with the Building and Housing Department and the Law Department to take civil action in order to hold these landlords accountable. And yes, if it is at any way possible to put this building into receivership, I want that to happen.
Yeah.
We can no longer allow our residents to be treated in this way, shape, form, and fashion. And we, along with myself and Councilwoman Deborah Gray, are going to fight every day at 601 Lakeside, because no longer will we allow these folks in this neighborhood to live in these deplorable conditions. There's been multiple violations. We have witnessed overflowing trash bins. We have witnessed garage doors being left open in 0-degree weather. The door in the front is left wide open, which creates safety problems and safety hazards. And I got elected in this city, and I got elected as president of Cleveland City Council in order to fight for the people of this city. So when we have mold and mildew and deplorable conditions and water leaking all throughout this building, in buildings where these people are paying not subsidized rent, but as much as $900 and $1,000 in a month in order to stay in these buildings. People that have been living in these buildings for almost 30 years, people that are elderly, people that are living on the margins of society. And this owner has the audacity to allow this group to stay there. You have a special responsibility when you are a landlord to make sure that your tenants are warm, safe, and dry. And ladies and gentlemen, all three of these areas, this ownership group have struck out. So we are going to do whatever we can in our toolbox. We are here to make a statement, and we appreciate the media coming out to make sure that you highlight issues like this, because we need to make sure that everyone in this community knows that we will not stand by as Cleveland City Council and as council person for this ward and as council president for this city and allow people to live in these deplorable conditions. The people of this city want fighters. They want people that's going to stand up. And that's why I also want to commend the Morelands group, who really have stuck their necks out, especially former council president and former councilman Jay Westbrook, who has been dogged and relentless in making sure that we are all fighting for this cause. I want to bring up my colleague, Councilwoman Deborah Gray. But ladies and gentlemen, the time to be nice is over.
Yes, it is.
The time to be cordial and ask is over. The time for demanding and the time for making sure that we put our foot down and draw a line in the sand that our residents and the people of this city will not be treated like this in this way, shape, form, and fashion is here today. And I want to say this to that ownership group. You are out of town and you're in New York, but this is Cleveland. And when Clevelanders band together and stick together, what's the old statement, Bob Brender? That when the spider webs unite, we can tie up a lion. So you get ready, because we're going to use every tool in our toolbox and work closely with the administration to hold you accountable. Once again, when spider webs are formed and they unite, we can tie up a lion, and we are going to hold this group accountable. I want to bring up my colleague who's also been calling, and she has been doing her research, and she's been fighting for all of the apartment buildings on her side of the street. We split this area, but I want to say it's not just this apartment building. It's apartment buildings all throughout the city of Cleveland. When we go into budget hearings next week, one of the main questions that I'm going to have for the administration of building and housing is how are we making sure that we inspect these apartment buildings and that we hold them accountable, that they do not do the deferred maintenance and allow these apartment buildings to fall into disrepair. And quite frankly, I think it's intentional to try to make sure that you move people out to have abandonment by neglect. So we're going to make sure that we stand up for all of these apartment buildings. And I want to bring up my colleague, Councilwoman Deborah Gray. And then I want to hear the demands, and I want you to hear from some of the other resident leaders and also the Morelands group if they have anything to say. Councilwoman Gray.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to hear to be here to support this mission of getting down to business to go after these slum landlords. Just put it out there. Slum landlords. I've been working in the community as well as long as Council Blaine Griffin, even as a precinct committee person, going after these slum landlords all through Ward 4 before I came council. Also, in addition to that, just this week, I've been at the Northmoreland Cleveland resident building Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, working with the residents over there who have called with complaints as well. So I will echo everything that Councilman Blaine Griffin had said, because it is a disgrace, a situation that anybody that don't have the best quality of life or lifestyle to live and to be comfortable, it's a travesty that you guys are going through that. But I'm here to support the tenants in the fight for the safe and decent housing. So we welcome our council members and supporters as well to be here, as well as our leaders, Ron James, Regina Burton, and Tony Dow. So I'm just honored to be here to support everyone here dealing with this situation. As much more Council Blaine Griffin said, I can't say enough. I really can't, because he really hit it on the nail. But just to go into yes you did. So but just to go into these apartments to see how people are living in these deplorable conditions, I mean, it's shameful. So saying all that is to say that I appreciate the Morelands group, who have also been relentless as well to keep on this path to make sure that these landlords are called out for everything that they haven't done. So on my behalf, I'm just going to put this out here. I did purchase a ticket to go to New York to meet these landlords. I have called them every day for the last 2 weeks. They answered the phone one time after they realized who I was. They have not responded since. But listen, I got a ticket. I'm going to New York to meet 2 of these landlords just to see if they will sit down and talk to me as a council person so I can understand and see what they will do, because their time is up. So I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for the Morelands group and everybody here who have supported this mission. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good job. Good job. I want to bring up the Morelands group and also the tenants first. But Mr. James, Mr. Dow, and Regina, if you guys can come up and just state some of what you're going through, and also we do have pictures for the media that we want to make sure that you get copies of that as well. Mr. Dow.
I want to thank the media for coming here today. I want to thank Council President Blaine Griffin and Councilwoman Deborah Gray. I also want to thank the Morelands group for giving us their support when we started this group last year, our first time on Channel 19, telling the city and the viewing public about this situation here. And it has gotten worse ever since. But I say this to you and to the viewing audience. As Dr. Martin Luther King stated, I have a dream. I have a dream that each citizen of this great city called Cleveland, Ohio, will have the privilege of living in safe, clean, affordable housing. I have a dream that one day the state of Ohio and the government of this United States will not stand for the ill treatment of their citizens. I have a dream that one day everyone who desires to live in a clean, safe, affordable environment will have that privilege. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot stand idly by and let people treat our citizens the way that these people have been treated. If we say that we are a moral society, then we must stand on moral principles. Everyone deserves a clean, safe, affordable place to live. We have many people in these buildings who are working people, people who have given their lives to their jobs, many people who have given their lives to the service of this city, this state, this nation. And we deserve a chance and the opportunity to have safe, affordable, and clean, decent housing.
Good job, Tony. Great job. Regina, Mr. James.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I remember a person in 2003 who came up this hill to see if I really wanted to live up here. It happened, and for the last 20 years, we were treated like the best people on the face of the earth. You know, there was everything we can ask the landlord and anything, and he gave it to us. In a matter of 4 years, here we are, okay? I just want to echo off what everybody said, but I think me and everyone that's up here deserve to be treated like a human being.
Yes.
Okay?
That's right.
So I just want to say, and to all the media and everything that's been, you know, they've been right there. And I just want to say thank you. And I hope we can end this journey. Thank you.
Good job, Regina. Mr. James?
I just want to say that there's still a few people in our apartment building whose apartments are almost as cold as it is out here. Please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know that he's working and he's always behind the scenes, and I don't care. I'm putting him on the spot because he's been working very hard on this issue, and I want him to come up and make some comments on behalf of the Morelands Group. Mr. Westbrook, if you could come up and make some comments, please. Thank you.
Well, it used to be taller, you know. It's council. First of all, you can't say no to the council president. So, Council President Griffin and Councilwoman Gray. I'm a transplant over here from West Side Ward to Shaker Boulevard, and I'll tell you, to everyone gathered here, this is the most spectacular part of Cleveland that I've ever seen. This is racial, class, economic, gender preference, diverse community, and there's one very, very distinct threat, and it's people like the Chetrit Group in New York. People from remote places, France, Boca Raton, Manhattan, New York, they have seen on their spreadsheets a place to make ultra profits.
Preach. Yes.
Ultra profits. Without lifting a finger. Not their pinky finger, not their ring finger, not a finger. They just rake it in. They don't even have management companies on site because they don't intend on hearing people's concerns. They don't intend on putting any money back. They only want to take money out. That is not the Cleveland way. I mean, we heard Regina talk about when she first located here, there were local Clevelanders who owned the property, who knew the value of the tenants, who weren't trying to basically bludgeon tenants in a white-collar fashion, taking their money without giving anything back. These people have invested more in this building than the people who own it. There are people here that have lived here 30 years. They've put more into this building than the speculative predators from New York. So, Mr. President and Councilwoman Gray, I hope this is the time that 601 Lakeside, where I used to labor on a daily basis, comes to the aid of citizens. Now, this isn't citizens who are looking to make a buck. These are citizens who are looking to have warm, safe, and clean housing. This is probably the largest concentration of affordable housing in all of Cleveland. And in a few months, you'll be having at the table projects that say, oh, we're going to build 40 units of affordable housing. We only need $20 million, to make this project fly. There's 2,000 units of affordable housing right here. 1,000 of them are at risk of being lost. You can't replace that with the Woodhill project. We need to preserve it, not lose it. I want to recognize the convener of the Morelands Group, Meg Weingart. Meg, and all the Fred, Harriet, I know is here, Nasha, sorry, other Morelands Group, and all the tenants are part of Morelands Group. But this is an unseen element and feature of this community. This is a place where people, there's Scott Gordon over there, who's not only a fabulous researcher, you'll find him on any day of the week out picking up litter. Litter. He doesn't want you to know that. You might call him on your block. But I got to just say this. This is the unseen strength of this community. People like Meg, who lives in the home she was born in. She doesn't really have to be spending 60 hours a week working on tenant rights. She could be down in Florida like some of her neighbors, but she's here struggling for this community. Fred, I know, is can you believe it, a composer. He writes music, but he understands the soul of people and the importance of justice. Yes. And he's out here fighting for it. So you don't see this today, but it's there every day. This is like the blood that runs through the body of this city and this community. This is where the oxygen for the community comes from, are good intentioned people, people who want no more than what's due to you. People here pay $900 a month rent, or in some cases more. And you would expect that you could live without black mold, that you could live without leaking water, without, or with heat. We'll take heat, because it's warmer out here than it was many times in those units. So, Mr. President, before you serve the 4-minute rule on me, I'll stop. But and thank you. See, he's too tall and right behind me. So, let me say a special word about Bob Render, because he really doesn't need introduction or comments, but he is the conscience of this community. And many of you know Bob, and he goes throughout Cleveland, and he talks about what's right and wrong. And we're fortunate as a community to have Bob right here, because he's an active part of the Morelands Group. He's a founder of the Morelands Group, and I call him the conscience of the Morelands Group. He rejects that sometimes, but good trouble. But good trouble. Listen, this is a great group. We're going to win this fight. Yes. But know what's at stake. We need to know what's at stake. Thank you.
Good job. So just to wrap up, and then we'll take questions from anyone in the media. We have pushed and worked with the administration, the Director of Building and Housing, as well as the Law Department, to have a legal action to create a civil nuisance abatement. Basically, what we're trying to do is, if they're not going to take care of their property, we're going to take legal action to try to take it from them, or try to do something to hold them accountable. I myself hope that the judge or whoever makes one of these owners actually live in the conditions that they're creating. And then see how urgent of a matter, because when it's you or yours, you have a tendency to treat people different. But I want to say this, and I want to echo what Jay said. If you look at this body of people, diverse, strong, vocal, I live in this neighborhood. I'm not just a council person here. I actually live here. These are my neighbors. When we have issues like this, we come together as a community. So I want everybody to know, when you come to the Buckeye Shaker in Woodland Hills community, you're not just dealing with Blaine Griffin, council president, or councilman. You're dealing with a body of people from all backgrounds that are going to stand up together with me and Councilwoman Gray and make sure that we hold people accountable in this city. We'll take any questions from the media.
Yeah. Question for Councilwoman Gray. You said you're going to New York. Do you have like a meeting scheduled, or are you going to knock on their door and see if you can get them?
Building. I'm going to their commercial building.
You can do it in the microphone.
Yeah, right here.
I'm going to the commercial building where they're in.
And you're going to see what happens?
See what happens.
Show up.
Show up. I'm not going to show out. I'm just going to show up.
What day?
Councilman Gray.
What day?
You know, Joe Pack.
We get it.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Any idea how
Please
many,
announce who you are and who you're with, so that everybody can know who you are.
I'm Lucas with the Plane Dealer. Any idea how many homes right now are without heat?
I can answer.
Come on over. Here you go.
Can we get your name, please?
Shameen Anderson.
Say it in the thing, and she actually works in the area
Shameen
too.
Anderson. And I'm speaking for the 10 apartments that have been without heat. We're on the 128th side end for 2 years. Not 2 days, not 2 weeks, not 2 months, 2 years. And I'm going to answer a question before you get ready to ask it. Why did we choose to stay so long? We have been in and out of that office. We have been lied to, deceived. All they say is, it's going to be fixed. The plumber's coming. We got the heating people coming. Oh, it's going to be ready. It's going to be ready. I had to entertain my 87-year-old father for New Year's Day for his birthday. Had I not stayed in at home for the whole weekend, it would not have been warm. And that's using one space heater, because if you use two, it's going to blow a fuse. So you have to open your oven as well to put it on. I put mine on 400. Yes, mine is on 400, and I have to sleep with it open. And I have 2 tower heaters that I rotate because they use for go on for 15 hours. All we hear is it's coming, it's coming. Oh, but we can't break our lease. We have been told that. We can't break our lease. No strings attached or anything. They have given us the permission to break our lease. Because what was told to me by the female property manager that's in there, you've been without heat for 2 years. So yes, no consequences or repercussions. You can break your lease. That's what was told to me. I don't know about anybody else, but that's what was told to me. Is there are, like I said, 10 apartments on 128th end that have been without heat for 2 years.
Thank you. And let me say this. Miss Anderson has been my neighbor and grew up in this neighborhood, has been living in this neighborhood for several years before she even moved to this apartment building. She has a right to live in this community and have decent, safe, and warm housing. And I want you to understand, when you talk about our neighborhood, she works in the neighborhood. A lot of them, when we go to the gas station, when we go to the grocery store, when we go to the Academy Tavern for a burger, when we go to CVS, or we go anywhere, we see these neighbors. This is our community. So that's why we're all here today fighting for them, because they should not have to live in these conditions. What are any other questions?
Question for the council president, Nick Costello, Signal Cleveland. I know council has been working with building and housing on legislation that's supposed to address out-of-state owners, trying to make them have a local agent. Can you give us an update on where that is, and do you think that's something you can get done this year?
Absolutely. We're going to make that a priority to get done this year, because what we want to do is make sure, and we are working on best practices and on looking at other areas on where we can hold these out-of-town state folks accountable. The management company that was before the people that are there now were from Michigan and will be rarely down here. So yes, we're trying to make sure that they have local management, local control, local ownership, and we're going to make all of that a priority this year for the legislative agenda for City Council.
And who's the property management company now?
The property management, they don't have a property management company right now. They actually have a young lady who I want to say has been in the crosshairs because, quite frankly, this is an ownership issue. I go to where the buck stops. I don't always go to the middle person. I want to go to the top. And that's why I want to make sure that this Chetrick group is the one that's in our eyesight. And we need to make sure, if nothing else, we let everybody in town know who these folks are, because I also, to Nick's point, want to make sure that we create a list of people who have been bad actors in our community so that we can discourage them from being able to get properties here in the future.
Matt Richard, Idea Street. You mentioned a process that the city's going to initiate. How would that address the issue?
Because you'll have somebody that's local. Right now, I can tell you that they've gone months, or they've gone times where they didn't even know who to talk to about basic services. So making sure that you have somebody on site or somebody local that's able to address these issues in an immediate manner and fashion is very critical, because trying to wait for somebody to come from out of state to help, we know that that's not going to work.
Councilman Gray, may I say this? I'm putting him on the spot, but Joe Paganakis told me over a month ago he was trying to raise some money to go to New York with a cameraman. Maybe you guys could go together.
Well, Joe is here today, and Joe came out and done one story, and I know that Joe was looking at making a trip there. We've talked several times, and I'm sure that Councilwoman Gray and whoever else would like to join that. I believe Channel 5 can probably afford a ticket to get Joe up there, and all the rest of the groups too. Exactly. So hopefully that can happen. Okay.
All right. I'll get with Joe later.
There's a couple buildings owned by the same company, the 12701. Yeah. Are you talking about both the buildings?
We're talking about, there's 3 buildings that they actually own in this group. But let me make it clear. This is throughout this area. Yes. On Southmoreland, on Northmoreland, on Shaker Boulevard. These used to be where this used to be the royalty. This used to be like coveted property. And let me say this, not just relegated to this area. that's a prime area of destination. That's why I said I think that this is eviction by neglect. That I think that there's people that want this to diminish the value of the property so that they could come in and try to drive people out. And that's why we're trying to show that we're neighbors and that we want them here and that we're going to have their back, because anybody could say just move if you don't like it. No, they got a right to stay here, and we're going to fight for them to stay here. But this is a problem with all my colleagues in Cleveland City Council throughout the city of Cleveland, where you have, during the Christmas holiday, we got an abundance of calls for broken elevators. I have another property that we have an elevator that doesn't work half the time, and firefighters have to be called in order to take people up to their 10th or 9th floor. We got other buildings where pipes have busted whenever the weather gets too cold. There's an inherent responsibility that you have when you're a property owner to make sure that the people living under your property are safe, warm, and dry. I had to do it for my children. I had to do it for my family. And you know what? They have to do it for theirs. Councilwoman?
Yes, I would like to say something. I have Mr. Burton, who lives in the Ashwood building, and Mr. Burton, could you raise your hand? I just had a conversation with him and some of the tenants over there in the Bel Air and the Ashwood building. The landlord offered them between $2,000 and $2,700 to move into another complex to get them completely out of the building. Now, what's $2,000 and $2,700 going to take you? Going to take you where? Whereas they planning a plan, perhaps, to get everyone out the building so they can end up renovated and put market value in there. So these people are in a catch-22. So how you going to buy somebody out at a cheap rate and they already going through a lot of bad situations? So Mr. Burton, could you just hold your hand up if you want to say something about that?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I've been in my apartment for 12 years. Never missed rent, and my apartment is beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm a disabled veteran, and I have went without to make my apartment nice. And I seen it with my own eye. Cleveland, Ohio resident came in there. That building has changed names, and that's all they doing is changing names. And they tore the walls down. You can see the pipe. Ain't nobody moved in 3 years. And I asked them, ain't y'all supposed to be fixing when somebody move out to get somebody else in? It's been a plan for the longest. They know what they're doing. And I want to say one thing. I love Marshall Fudge, but she needs to get out of Washington and get in these communities and see how these people is manipulating these buildings to drain money from from the government for these Section 8 and voucher programs. We need help, and it's time they stop being able to buy these buildings. It's time for Cleveland to put their foot down on the codes to run these buildings. Their codes are so relaxed. That's why they attacking Cleveland from all angles, everywhere. Because Cleveland codes is not like Shaker Heights code. Shaker Heights, if they tell you to fix something, you gonna fix it. But here in Cleveland, it's like they sweep it under the rug. And let me say this, the lady told me she got the best lawyer in town. She offered me money and said, you be out by the 6th. Where can you possibly move? What can you possibly do?
Thank you.
So we need to put our foot down and get these people to quit buying these buildings.
Thank you.
If they ain't gonna put no money in.
Thank you, Mr. Burton. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And Nothing like having people that are experiencing this. That's why we wanted to make sure they're there.
Ashwood on that list.
Yeah. Where is I do want to make sure that that we do recognize, and I know Mr. Dow had something that he wanted to say. I want to make sure if Mr. Dow can come on up too if he wants something to say. Come on, Mr. Dow.
January 20,
Speaking to the mic.
January 2022, the first news conference that we held at 12701 Shaker Boulevard. And as I stated then, this was a flim-flam group that came here to turn people upside down and empty their pockets. It's a game. The research that I've done over a year, Shreveport, Louisiana, St. Louis, even in Columbus, Ohio, the same game is being, afoot, as Sherlock Holmes would say. And so here we are in this day and time, we're letting basically foreign interests come and fleece the citizens. Real estate shouldn't get a pass, people, and I've said that before. Look at the film footage from a year ago. So I am glad that our council president is here along with Councilwoman Gray because they understand what they're seeing. And they understand how volatile the situation is because they have come here to basically destroy a community.
Right.
This is a civil rights issue, people. And we need to wake up. It's just as simple as that.
That's right. All right, everybody, we're going to wrap up, but I want to make sure I remind everybody. Less than a mile away from here, we had a gentleman that actually froze to death in his apartment. The last thing any of us want in this city is to have on our conscience that we have someone that becomes ill or someone that gets sick or someone that succumbs to these conditions. And it would be a conscience on all of us in the city of Cleveland. It's what keeps me up at night, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to wrap up. I know that if you want to talk to anyone, please talk to these folks, but I want to make sure that I'm respectful because we have a lot of mature citizens that I want to make sure that they don't have to stand up too long. But please feel free to talk with them. Please hear some of their stories. I've heard all of them. I know I have Miss Donna Renee Hall, who I talk to almost 3 or 4 times a day, if not a week. Just want to make sure that you know that we're here for this community. And to all of you, I want to let you know that we love you. We care deeply about what's happening to you, and we could not turn a blind eye towards you. That's why Councilwoman Gray and myself are here to support you today. Thank you so much. We're going to take any questions from anyone, and please talk to anyone. Everybody, we are also urging everyone because a lot of residents have done it already, but we are encouraging everyone to put their rent in escrow. If you need advice on how to do it, please see Mr. James and please see the Morelands Group. But many of the residents have already put their rent in escrow. So please, in all of the tenants, put that out. And then look at some of these signs that they have where people say that everything is okay. It shows clearly that they almost are like, we'll get to it later. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that. Thanks, everybody, and I appreciate as many media coming out here to highlight this issue. Thank you so much.